Power is transient, and the people of Kenya will overcome.
In 2022, the hustlers brought in William Ruto's. 2023, we had the obident movement in Nigeria. We talked about this intensively in our last video. Yesterday, the president of Kenya had a press briefing where he withdrew the financial bill, which is causing a lot of mayhem in the country. But before then, there was a speech that he gave where he called the Kenyan citizens criminals.
An otherwise legitimate expression of the fundamental rights and freedoms of assembly, demonstration, picketing, and petitioning of public authorities by a section of law-abiding citizens of the Republic of Kenya was infiltrated and hijacked by a group of organized criminals.
Now, when you look at African leaders, not just African leaders, around the globe, once there is a disagreement between the people and the government fail to listen to the people, the next thing you will hear is that the citizens who are protesting lawfully has been hijacked and some criminal elements have taken over the protest. Hence, the military or the police of that particular nation decided to act in order to bring law and order. But let's look at it carefully. What stopped you from listening to the people in the first place? And before we talk about that, listen to him.
It is not in order or even conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters can rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under our Constitution, and expect to go scot-free.
They were busy passing the bill when the people were outside of the parliament protesting. And here is this correspondent from CNN giving detailed reports of actually what transpired before the breaking in of the parliamentary house in Nairobi, Kenya.
President Ruto has a majority in parliament, and so they were able to pass this finance bill while Kenyans were actively protesting outside parliament. While we were outside parliament, we saw police use live ammunition, and we saw people killed in that moment. That's why I'm not using the word allegedly, because I was there. I saw it. And these people sitting behind President Ruto were there passing the finance bill, while Kenyans outside were telling them, this is too expensive for us, don't do it.
Now, is it now obvious to you that the president is aware and he understands, and the government officials knew that the people don't want this bill, but they give a deaf ear? Now, the same people who brought you into power are the same people demanding and saying, no, we will not take this bill. You have to take it away. Now, the president has now come out to say that the good people of Kenyan, and then he gave a very long speech, justifying the reason why this and that happened.
Having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024, and listening keenly to the people of Kenya, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill. The country witnessed widespread expression of dissatisfaction with the bill as passed, and on behalf of these members and many other Kenyans, I send my condolences to the families of those who lost their loved ones in this very unfortunate manner.
So when looking at all of this and you pull them together, you will understand the typical nature of an African politician. I won't talk about Europe or America because I'm not there. A typical African politician who wants power at all costs will use any movement to get to power and give deaf ear. Let's not forget that he once said this before he became the president.
Power is transient, and the people of Kenya will overcome. We will not submit to your threats and blackmail. We will not bow to you. We will not worship you. We worship the living God in heaven. We worship.
So what changed in just 2 years after being sworn in as a president of Kenya? The same thing can be seen in Nigeria, although the Nigerian counterpart is quite different because the Bola Tinubu's administration never came in under the platform of any political movement. It is a normal establishment, status quo, you know, the rigging formula that they use. Not like Adibin, we had the obident, which Peter Obi was riding upon, and then he came in as the president, and all of these shenanigans is happening in Nigeria. We will now be talking in that regards that yes, you use the obedient movement or the obedient movement which brought you into power. Now you've turned your back against these people, and this is where Peter Obi will be worried, because if peradventure as the permutation for 2027 has begun in earnest and he emerge maybe at the end of the day, maybe through coalition or whichever way, and he becomes the president of Nigeria, then he has to think twice of what is going on in Kenya not to repeat itself in Nigeria. It is obvious that yes, we ought to pay tax, but you don't pay tax to the expense of, you don't pay tax and then at the end of the day you are living a flamboyant life, a very luxurious life to the expense of your own people. And that is the reason why the Kenyan people are demanding for the resignation of Mr. President William Ruto. Now, today there is already a circular circulating in Kenya that today they will be having a breakfast with Mr. President. According to the youth, they have already issued a memo to Mr. President that today being 27th of June 2024, he will resign as the president of Kenya. You see, I have seen a lot of comments on social media where some people said that you cannot be sending our police officers to go and die in Haiti and some other places of the world for a war that has nothing to do with Kenyans, and then you sit down there spending our taxpayers' money with your co-politicians, and then we are the ones suffering. This is the same thing that is happening in Nigeria, and the West are watching keenly. Now let's look at it and bring it back home. Most of these paymasters, the West and some of those World Bank, IMF and the rest, who are advising African leaders to take some certain decisions at the end of the day, which is the result of, as a result of that, we're having all those kind of, protests here and there. There is something that you need to understand here. They will always not allow this protest to last, because as it stands today, there is also a move in Ghana for a protest in September for good governance. Remember that there will be an election in Ghana very soon, and now they are planning a protest in Ghana. Look at the boiling point in Nigeria as we stand today. For the past 1 year, the country has been boiling. It has been boiling, and Nigerians are good at adjusting. So if it happens successfully in Kenya and it goes to happen in Ghana, it will definitely hit Nigeria. And what is happening in Kenya and what will ever happen in any part of Africa will just be like a tip of an iceberg when it comes to Nigeria, because the NSAS protests that happened when Nigerians were not suffering what they are suffering now, if it repeats itself in Nigeria again, the government will not be able to control it. And that is the reason why many of us have been saying that the government should wake up from their sleep. The president should wake up from his sleep and do something, because the rate at which the inflation rate, the hunger and the insecurity has ravaged the country within the last 1 year, the borrowing and the spending of the government, if not checked within the next 6 months, probably, if nothing happens and get worse day by day, when it starts in Nigeria, the whole world will stand still. And this is the reason why Nigeria cannot afford, to embark on any form of protest now, because if it does, the whole West Africa, the whole Africa will join that protest, and it will become one of the biggest revolution that has ever happened in the history of the world. And it will start from Nigeria. And that is the reason why people are saying the leaders should listen to the youth. This is not the last generation. This present generation are well informed. They now understand. They know. You may see that they may not be involved in the daily activities of politics and all of that, but they are key. They are watching and they are seeing. And that is the reason why, if the government did not check themselves, things may go out of hand. And that you can now see what is happening in Kenya. William Ruto may not last in that office for the next 1-2 months. Probably. He may be typically removed by the people, because these people will not relent. From what I have seen so far, the people will not relent, and they are already demanding for the resignation of the National Security Advisor. Why? Why shifting blames? The first speech given by the president was more military. The second speech was more political. You call people criminals. Now they have taken and sit on it and said, you call those criminals. And for that reason, we stick by it. We are criminals. And I've been saying it, and I said it from the beginning of this video, that you cannot in any way wake up from your sleep and then come on national television and call your people criminals just because they said no to a particular policy that you are bringing forth. And it is obvious when you look at the Nigerian government in 2020 during the NSAS protest. The protest was peaceful. Nobody was carrying any kind of weapon. They were just, with bottled water. They were even cooking. So many people even got scholarship. People were sent for medical, treatment, that came for the protest and all of that. But at the end of the day, what happened? All of a sudden, we saw some hoodlums. And if you see the video clips, you will understand that the Nigerian police were escorting some of those hoodlums who were disrupting the protest. So most times when you hear the protest has been hijacked, it has been hijacked by the government actually. Because at the end of the day, you will find out that the police of that government, we see them escorting those who are even beating people without carrying any form of anything that will cause any mayhem. But this is the situation. And until the leaders in Africa come to their senses, then it is over for Africa.